So atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, is due to plaque formation. Plaque formation, it can start as early as childhood, and it's when fats start to build up inside the smooth lining of the arteries. Looks kind of like this, where you can see that plaque building up in between the smooth muscle and the tunica interna here in your arteries. What happens is initially that vessel gets damaged. This can be due to infection, smoking, diabetes, hypertension, a lot of different things can cause damage to that vessel. And when that happens, LDLs come into the area. They're part of just the natural inflammation cycle, right? And so they get drawn to the area, and macrophages come and eat them. They do this to create these foam cells. You get the foam cells, which are rich in cholesterol, right? Because LDL is a type of cholesterol. And those start to infiltrate this area. And then they can build up plaques. So here you can see the LDL digested by the macrophages, a bunch of foam cells in here. They can either become stable plaques or unstable plaques. Your stable plaques have a nice, thick, fibrous cap on them, while your unstables do not. And so they are more vulnerable. These can rupture, they can cause an embolism, or a clot can form around them, which then can go off to cause strokes and other things. With your stable plaques, basically you just get these slowly encroaching until they start to create ischemia and killing the tissue from lack of oxygen to wherever it's going. Our antilipidemics decrease the cholesterol, decrease the LDL, decrease the amount of plaques that form. And so with lower plaques, you're going to have a lower risk of CAD, coronary artery disease, also peripheral arterial disease too. So if these plaques build up in the coronary arteries, right, you get your CAD, you get your coronary artery disease, it can cause angina. You can also get them going up to the brain, and so they can cause transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs, or even strokes. They can also weaken the walls of the arteries, and then under high pressure, those walls can burst and you can have aneurysms. Happens somewhere else besides the brain, you get your peripheral artery disease. This can cause numbness, pain. That numbness and pain can like come and go, and you get this thing called intermittent claudation. Alright, so our lipids, lipoproteins, and cholesterols. You need cholesterol. It is essential to your body. You build your steroid hormones from cholesterol. So testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, your aldosterone, your mineral corticoids, all this stuff is built from cholesterol. So we need to have cholesterol in your body, right? It also forms parts of the cell membrane. They help to give the cell membrane some structure and some rigidity to it. They're important in the myelin sheath that you find wrapping the axons, increasing that saltatory conduction in your nerves. They're also important in bile salts, helping you to digest fats, right? Only about 20 to 25% of it comes from our diet. So you don't have to eat a lot of cholesterol. Most of it you make yourself, and it is made in the liver. And so we find our most effective drugs are ones that stop the production of cholesterol in the liver, and we'll go over those in a little bit. We have a couple different types of lipoproteins. So you have your HDLs, your your high-density lipoproteins. They're high density because they have a lot of protein and a little bit of fat. So a lot of protein, low cholesterol. Versus your low densities, which have a little protein and a lot of cholesterol. And then you have very low density lipoproteins. And these have very low protein and a lot of cholesterol. And then you have your chylomicrons. This is the way that you absorb fats. Okay? So these chylomicrons are found in the intestine and get absorbed through the lacteals and a whole physiology stuff. But these go to the liver and then can go on to make cholesterols. So here you can kind of see it. So we have our chylomicron pathway being absorbed, goes into the lymphatic system. Lymph drains into the bloodstream, and then those lipids can either be stored in your adipocytes or they can go to the liver, where you can make your very low density lipoproteins, and you have those stored in adipocytes, or they can go off and become LDLs. In the liver, it produces these empty HDL cells, or shells, that then go off to the cells to pick up cholesterols and deliver that back to the liver so it can go off and make bile acids and whatnot. And so the best way to lower your cholesterols is to lower your LDL. So typically, like when we talk about lowering your cholesterol, we're talking about lowering total cholesterol, but doing that by lowering your LDLs. It's these low density cholesterols that are the ones that build up the plaques. They are the ones that are dangerous. And so these are really the ones we want to keep low, while HDL is your good cholesterol, right? And we want to keep those high. We also want to decrease your overall triglyceride values, which you decrease these, you're going to decrease these, right? Okay. So our different classes of our hypolipemic drugs are going to be your bile acid sequestrants. So they sequester the bile acid in the intestine, which means you can't bring in the cholesterol. Our statins, which is our HMG coenzyme A inhibitors. We can also alter your lipoprotein metabolism. We have things that stop cholesterol absorption in the intestine, and then combo drugs, which are going to be a combination of a statin and one of these others. Let's first talk about the statins. This is the most important group of our hypolipemics. Like, they are the go-to for lowering your cholesterol besides diet, right? So how they work is they stop this enzyme. If you look at a cholesterol molecule, what it is a bunch of acetyl coenzyme A's all hooked onto each other. And so you can see you have acetyl coenzyme synthase to another one, and then right here is where our statins stop it, and then there'd be a lot of more steps to make your cholesterol. But just in the production of cholesterol, we're going to stop this rate-limiting step. Rosuvastatin is probably one of the most widely prescribed drugs in the United States, second most for anybody between 18 and 64 years old. Atorvastatin is another one. These are things like Lipitor, right? And what they do is interrupt this process of building the cholesterol, but they also lower your C-reactive proteins, or your CRPs. Anytime a cell gets damaged, it will release a CRP. And so CRPs are really important in the inflammatory response and bringing in other things. And so something that we see with these statin drugs is they also decrease overall inflammation. And some of them, I think, have been prescribed for arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis. Side effects: headaches, dizziness, alteration of taste, insomnia, flatulence, photosensitivity, memory loss, And then myalgias like leg ache, muscle weakness, and even rare rhabdomyolysis, which is a breakdown of the muscle. So we're breaking one of these enzymes, right? We're making sure it doesn't work. Sometimes the body can get a little overzealous, and instead of making cholesterol, it starts to break down your muscles to get the energy, the enzymes that it needs. Cool thing about these statins is that they were discovered from fungi. And so there was a product for the red yeast fungus, Monascus rubor, and that's where we get our first statin, and the rest of them also come from different fungi. Really cool. So we also have cholesterol absorption inhibitors, which inhibit the absorption of cholesterol from the small intestine. And so if you remember, dietary cholesterol was only like 20-25% of your total cholesterol count. And so this is only cutting out a little bit of it. And when you cut out a little bit of it, the body goes ahead and makes more. And so when we look at overall efficacy, these don't work as well as statins at lowering your total cholesterol. But also, these can cause pain, fatigue, coughing, back pain, but not the destruction of your muscles and possible death. So, pros and cons. Ezetimibe is the first of its kind. It's the one that we have on the market right now. And what it does is it binds with the cell to stop cholesterol coming through. So it binds on this thing on your small intestine called the brush border, and it stops the absorption of cholesterol. Our bile acid sequestrants work kind of similar, in which they're an ion exchange resin that combines with the bile salts, which combine with cholesterol in the intestine, and so then it can't be absorbed. So where these just stop the absorption of cholesterol, and these are really specific for cholesterol, so your lipophilic vitamins can come through, fatty acids can come through, it's just it does not let cholesterol through. On these, again, very specific, binding the bile salts that are binding cholesterol to prevent the absorption. Since bile acids aren't absorbed into the bloodstream, we're not going to see a systemic effect. Same with your cholesterol absorption inhibitors. You're not going to see these really large systemic effects. Mostly it's all GI issues, constipation. The constipation can get really bad and progress into fecal impactation, where you're going to have like an enema or something to release that impaction. And then other lipidemic drugs would be like niacin. For a lot of people who have high LDL, low HDL, the doctor may prescribe niacin plus a statin, because niacins are really good at raising your HDL. A little unclear on how it affects the cholesterol, but we know it does it through a G protein receptor for nicotinic acid. Can cause nausea, vomiting, vasodilation, which shows up as flushing in the skin. And then you can get Lopid or Tricor, which are fibric derivatives. And what they do is they inhibit lipolysis in the adipose. And so we're not freeing up fatty acids, which means you're not going to go and then take those free fatty acids to make your VLDLs. Without the VLDLs, you're not going to make the LDLs. And so it decreases that way. Again, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, flatulence, dizziness, blurred vision may also occur with these. And kind of a summary of it all. So your statins are working on the production of cholesterol, breaking it down there. Niacin is stopping the production of your VLDLs. Your resins, or your bile salt binders, are binding so you're not going to absorb the cholesterol. And then etenamide also stopping the absorption of cholesterol. And all these decrease your cholesterol, which is good because cholesterol causes plaques, and plaques can kill you.